Hey everybody, and welcome to a fact-finding wild ride with Steve-O. We're here in Las Vegas for the UFC Sphere event and staying at the M Resort, which is the most badass hotel, spa, and casino I may have ever been at. It's awesome. And also awesome is Ariel Helmani. He's a legend of combat sports journalism, truly. And he's a friend of mine. We had just a fantastic conversation. It went deep. It hit hard. And, man, he got me kind of emotional, I'm going to tell you. It's this is one that celebrates MMA and combat sports and friendship, and it's awesome. So let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, people of the universe, I bring to you Ariel Helwani.
It's a big freaking deal.
If you're going to go after Ariel, you best not miss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ariel Helwani.
Yeah. Mr. 10-7. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for doing this. It's an honor. I get very excited about every episode, which immediately precedes a UFC pay-per-view event. And there's not a more notable one than what's taking place at Sphere. Not the Sphere, simply Sphere.
Is that true?
I believe it is called Sphere.
So all of us have been saying it wrong.
Well, UFC Sphere, but is it called the Sphere?
I believe the venue itself is simply called
Wow.
Sphere.
You know what? Look at this. We're seeing all the examples here. Ticketmaster.
Yeah. Just a few stats going into this this unprecedented one-of-one event.
Yes.
The previous maximum budget that ever went into a UFC event, production-wise, $2 million. This 10 times that.
Crazy.
Has
Oh, wow.
reached $20 million in production expenses. The reason for that being that what's it called, a truss, what normally hangs above the octagon to fix lights and cameras. It would serve as a visual obstacle obscuring the actual interior of the Sphere, which is all encompassing a screen.
Wow.
And so they had to find ways to hide all of that production equipment. It's never been done.
And they say it will never happen again. Although that might be a promotional thing, like one night only. You have to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very interesting because I watched a whole YouTube video. I forget where it came from, but the thrust of it was that the Sphere cost $2.4 billion to build and has been proving to lose money at an alarming rate.
Crazy.
And I said to you before we started recording that I wonder if, much like with William Morris Endeavor, which purchased the UFC from the Fertitta brothers, if the UFC is going to come in and breathe life into their business.
Well, there's a lot of interesting storylines heading into this weekend, in addition to just the fights themselves. Because I like this card very much. I know some fans were complaining about it, but I like it. The top 3 fights are amazing. But there's so many different subplots. Number one, Mexican Independence Day weekend.
Right.
Historically, that has been a boxing weekend. Historically, over the last few years, that has been a Canelo Alvarez weekend. He is fighting this weekend at T-Mobile, which is the unofficial Las Vegas home of the UFC. The UFC is at Sphere, which is not an MGM venue. Dana White has hinted, and no one's asked him about this for some reason to elaborate. He's like, this isn't about me and Canelo, he said. This is about me versus MGM. There's some sort of rift there right now between him and MGM, which I think is very interesting because if you go to T-Mobile, like the UFC logo is in the building. Like they're a home team at T-Mobile. And so Canelo's fighting at T-Mobile on Mexican Independence Day weekend. Here's the UFC who says, no, we want a piece of that Mexican Independence Day weekend pie, if you will, but we're going to go to the new kid on the block, Sphere, pouring all this money, both events happening head to head, a mile apart, and that's like in addition to all the fight stuff.
Oh, and it runs deeper than that because the rift between Oscar De La Hoya Canelo, plus between Oscar De La Hoya and Dana. And Oscar De La Hoya comes out of nowhere saying that he is going to be in attendance at the UFC Sphere event.
With who? With Turki Al-Sheikh, His Excellency, who also has a bit of a riff with Canelo. He has propped up boxing, but for this one, they're sponsoring the UFC event, and he's going to the UFC event, not the boxing event, his first love.
Right.
With De La Hoya, a notable rival of one Dana White.
Right, and Oscar De La Hoya, he posted this outrageous Instagram video talking about how he can't wait to see Dana White face to face. He's so looking forward to it, and intimating, or at least suggesting that it was he was going to be Dana White's guest at the Sphere event, when in fact Dana says that he's coming in on the Saudi Arabian guy's block of tickets.
What about Oscar De La Hoya's fake abs? How do we feel about that?
Well, at the end of this video,
yes,
he says, "And Dana, I see that you got the same ab surgery that I did." Which I you know what? It doesn't look to me like Dana has had some kind of ab surgery.
What, you think he's really has ab surgery?
No, he's spoken. He's very open about it.
People, that's a real thing.
Sculpt them, yeah. I don't know how. I don't know what it is, but he talks openly about it. Like, he's not shy about it at all.
What do you? Is it like taking the belly fat or enhancing the muscle?
Can I just say,
or is
I'm
it
very
like inserting something?
Who's running all of this back here?
We've got our own.
Shout out to this guy back here,
Isaac T. Patterson.
Isaac, you are the man. You know how many times I've told the guys, like, when I'm talking about things, I would love it if you could pop it up. This dude, every time we say something, he's Googling it. Yeah. This is an unbelievable skill and a great addition to you, like what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I'm
Whose idea was this?
The RV came with a TV, and I think that it occurred to us
this is unbelievable.
way too late that we could be using
way
it.
too late. Yeah. I think like
so
episode
good.
175 when we started
Listen.
using it.
So when they were talking about the Liver King having like ab surgery or ab implants,
they were just talking about him being on gear.
No, but they were saying that like he go to the Liver King's stomach. They're like, dude, this is clearly fake six pack.
You think so?
Yeah, he was getting accused of that.
I don't know. What's the same thing as like liver
ab implants and
so
abs?
Weird.
I mean, look at that.
Who does this?
It's insane.
Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah, clearly.
I mean, I don't think Dana White would do that, but who knows?
So the storyline of Oscar De La Hoya attending the Sphere event when he's not a guest of Dana White is
yeah. So like I'm saying, there's so many different subplots to this weekend. And it's been a while since it feels like Vegas is the fight capital of the world. Used to be for so long. This weekend, it feels like the fight capital of the world. Like, it never happens that UFC and a major boxing event are happening in the same place at the same time.
I find that interesting. Where would you suggest has taken that title from Vegas?
It has become a lot more splintered. Certainly for boxing. You can make a case Saudi Arabia is making...
Saudi Arabia's been throwing a lot of money at combat sports.
Yeah, and they're putting
UFC
on really,
too.
really big cards. Really deep cards, really stacked cards. So, look, Vegas is still... But it used to be just like Vegas and everyone was a distant second, right? And now you'll see events all over the world. UFC is still going to be here X amount of times. UFC 300 was here. The Conor card was supposed to be here. It's still Old Faithful, but... For both of them to be here for massive shows on the same weekend, historically a huge boxing weekend, and the UFC to come in, UFC has always stayed away from this weekend. But it was only last year when they decided we're going to start doing our own version of a Mexican Independence Day weekend. I think it's great. I've never subscribed to the theory that you have to pick one or the other. Like, I love both sports equally. And
Do you really love boxing as much as MMA?
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
Not me.
You think why? You think
I just think that boxing is borderline unwatchable with all of the hugging and the break and the hug and the break. And
I mean, there are some fights that suck. There are also some MMA fights that aren't that good. MMA fights are easier to digest because they are shorter for the most part, right? 15 minutes.
No, but it's not that. It's like at any given moment, somebody's face can explode from a knockout in UFC, or like, you know what I mean? Boxing is more of like a chess match.
Boxing is inherently one-dimensional, and that one dimension is just so unwatchable when they start hugging each other.
Sure. But there could be some boring MMA fights where they're hugging each other and clinching and not doing much.
Yeah.
But when you watch Fury Usyk, did you watch that fight in May? That was incredible.
I watched Fury and Deontay Wilder, one of those.
Those were great. All three of those were great.
I saw a lot of hugging.
Yeah. Listen, again, by the way, I love pro wrestling too, and that's a whole different can of worms as well. So I'm able, which is my okay. So here's the interesting question: the very best of MMA versus the very best of boxing. A top level MMA card will always win out for me because I think that there's just a deeper roster.
That's the other thing. Is there any such thing in boxing as the whole card is great? Let me tell you about something that is absolutely great every single time, and it is by far my favorite sponsor of the Wild Ride podcast. It is called Hello Tushy. This is a bidet attachment that you put on your toilet, and it's so much better than wiping your butt with toilet paper. I can't even put it into words. It is a refreshing stream of water that just pressure cleans your butthole after you poop. And there's nothing like it, man. Plus, you can get 10% off your order if you go to hellotushy.com and use the promo code STEVEO. I'm telling you that it couldn't be more simple for a regular person to attach this onto their toilet, and once you use it, you never want to go back. I love using my bidet from Hello Tushy, and you will too. So one more time, to get 10% off your entire order, go to hellotushy.com and use the promo code STEVEO. There's no other sponsor I've ever called my favorite one of the Wild Ride podcast, and that's because I love it that much. hellotushy.com, promo code STEVEO. Now let's get back to it.
That's where the Saudis are coming in. Like lately, I'm going to a card next weekend in London. Anthony Joshua, 96,000 tickets they've sold at Wembley. 96,000. It's absurd. And that's a great card. And then October 12th, they have another great card. Unfortunately, they just lost Shakur Stevenson. But they are trying to copy the UFC model.
Well, they're obviously not copying it if they're doing it in a stadium. And it's one thing I respect about Dana a lot. That he's not interested in the UFC being in stadiums.
Like, what about that makes you like? It's just a stance, but why do you respect the stance?
Because I think that if you do it in a stadium, you've got bigger gates because there's more tickets to sell. But the stance that he's taking against it is one that he wants it to be a more intimate event. He thinks that in a stadium that the top row is just too far removed from the action for it to be a really amazing experience, and that's him having a standard for the UFC experience, which I respect.
That is fair, 100%. They have done 55,000.
Sure, in Australia.
They also did Toronto, GSP, Jake Shields, UFC 129, 55,000 at the Rogers Center. So they've done it. But yes, you can also charge, like the UFC gates are doing just fine. And
it's really remarkable when every press conference, the gate was, we've record. Madison Square Gardens, they're number 1, 2, and 3 highest gates. And at a certain point, you kind of scratch your head and think, like, the only way that's possible is if they're charging more for a ticket than any other act that ever.
Yes. So, you can charge that when the product is so hot. The product has never been hotter in terms of the business, right? And it's because they're able to charge this much, but there's a market. I mean, even people were lamenting the ticket prices for the Sphere or Sphere.
No. Not even they were lamenting.
They're insane.
Especially they were lamenting.
Yeah. It's going to be the biggest gate ever, but the ticket prices were,
Click on Ticketmaster right there.
I don't think there's anything under $1,000
per ticket.
I think that there went to be. I do believe that they reduced
initially.
the prices.
Yes, off the jump. Now they're dropping them down, and people are making a big deal about that. But the gate is still going to be their biggest gate ever.
And it kind of needs to be, because
that's also why some fans were upset about the card. They wanted it to be more stacked.
Wow.
But when you're, look at that.
$855
for the cheapest for row for what was that, $847?
How many people does it hold?
I think it's like somewhere in the 16 to 18 range. Have you ever been to Sphere?
I've not.
Have you?
No.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I'm just so curious to know what they're going to do. Oh, they're 18, yeah.
Standing or sitting 18.
What are they going to do when the fights are on? This is the beauty of it is the venue is part of the appeal, right?
Sure.
I don't know how it's going to look on pay-per-view, but if you're in Nebraska or something, you're going to buy this pay-per-view, even if you're half into the fights, just to see what it looks like, which is a beautiful thing.
But then again, watching the prelims for free would scratch that itch.
You're so good. You're so good. I'm curious what they're going to do. Are they going to hold back on the prelims?
I'm curious about that as well. And
I think they could have given up the whole thing on pay-per-view, and people would have bought it just to see it, just for the mystery of what it looks like.
It's very interesting.
True.
Also, fewer fights than normal. There's 10, a total of 10.
Yeah. Raul Rosas on the opener, which I think is interesting too. He wouldn't traditionally be on the opener, but I think they want to come out with a young gun.
And he's a minus 500 favorite against what is it?
Is it O'Day Osborne?
No. O'Day Osborne is the first fight on the main card.
Oh yes.
Raul Rosas Jr. is fighting
yeah, it's a one word.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the way at the beginning. But I like that. I like that they're showcasing him because everyone's going to want to watch that first fight to see what it looks like, right?
Right. And I saw that the production plan is to with very wide angle lenses to be able to show everything.
And haptic seats if you're in attendance. Do you know what that is?
It's like what's that, 4D or
like it's just like you'll feel the impact in the seats.
Really?
Yeah.
At every seat at the Sphere?
Yeah. It's actually Sphere, not the Sphere.
Sorry. I just saw Alien with those seats last week in Vancouver.
I'm tremendously excited for it, especially Raul.
How much were your tickets? Must be nice.
So you're going to be sitting next to like the Prince of Turkey, and
I have no idea where I'm going to be sitting, but
you
normally I go with my lady.
Yeah.
And she has a prior commitment, cannot make it.
Oh.
And respecting how big of a deal this is, I only asked for one ticket.
Wow.
And I don't know,
is there any celebrity that you sit next to and you're like, man, I got to sit next to this guy? He's going to be annoying.
There was the Darren Till challenging Tyron Woodley in Dallas.
Yes.
I showed up with my lady for the first of the early prelims, and already in his seat right next to mine was Anthony Kiedis of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
He's hardcore. He's been going for a while.
Yeah, I mean, he was like very first fight, and I remember sitting, my seat is immediately next to his. There's like basically nobody else here, and I'm like, okay, keep your cool, dude. Just shut up, be cool. And he was kind of eager to discuss fighting. We just sat there just chatting about fighting for 6 hours.
Wow.
It was unbelievable.
Was he alone?
He was.
Wow.
To my recollection, he was.
Yeah, you, him, Action Bronson. You know Action Bronson?
For sure.
Always there, first fight. Love Action. He is hard. He will watch, just like you, like ESPN Plus, Apex card, top to bottom. He's texting me about it. You guys are a part of a very small fraternity of like super duper hardcore fans.
And I've not even been a super duper hardcore fan for that long. I came in on the Ronda Rousey hype train.
By the way, that's kind of a while ago now.
It is.
It is from the jump, because that's 11 years ago now. It doesn't feel like it is.
No, not from the jump though. Not. It was like, what was it, like 2015?
I'd say 2015.
2015.
She got knocked out in 2015.
Yeah.
So you came in after she got knocked out?
Like I was really involved in what was going to happen with her at that one, and I came in just in time to see her get knocked out.
That's bad.
Yeah. And
but what a year. 2016, in my opinion, the greatest year in UFC history.
Wow.
The greatest year in UFC history. The fight of the year happened on the second day of the year, January 2nd, 2016. It was Robbie Lawler against Carlos Condit, UFC 195. 196 was Conor getting submitted by Nate, Misha Holly Holm. 197 was a crazy weekend. That was OSP against John Jones. not a great fight, but if you recall, the night before, they had a press conference for UFC 200, and it was Diaz who showed up and Conor didn't show up. There was an empty seat there, and they were combining together because Conor was unhappy, and they thought that they would get Nate to go against Conor, but Conor ended up siding with Nate ended up siding with Conor, which was wild. 3 weeks prior to that fight, John Jones in an orange jumpsuit, he gets arrested for drag racing. 198, Stipe Miocic knocks out Fabricio Verdum in a stadium, by the way, in Curitiba, around 45,000. 199, Luke Rockhold knocks out Michael Bisping to win the middleweight title. 200 was supposed to be Jones DC, falls through. DC Anderson, Nunes Tate. 201, Tyron Woodley knocks out Robbie Lawler. You want me to keep going? 202, Nate Conor 2. 203, Stipe in Cleveland. CM Punk makes his debut. 204, Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping in Manchester in the middle of the night.
Wow.
205, Conor at MSG. 206 was a so-so one in Toronto, and then it ends with 207, Amanda Nunes against Ronda Rousey, Cody Garbrandt against Dominic Cruz.
Cody Garbrandt against Dominic Cruz.
5 pay-per-views that did over 1 million buys. Greatest year in UFC history.
Amazing.
I want to write a book on that year.
Okay, now
Sweet 16.
Now you're the guy for.
No one steal that idea, please. Sorry.
You're the guy for the inside scoop, which is arguably why Dana got mad at you. But that's not my question here.
Okay.
Can you illuminate the actual reason why that Dublin press conference didn't happen?
Oh yeah, for sure. The Conor one.
Yeah, I mean, I submit that even if you're going to back out of a fight because you've got a broken pinky,
yeah,
that broken pinky, I refuse to accept that that's why that press conference was canceled.
Well, then you might not like my answer.
Okay.
If you recall, that Saturday night was Dustin Poirier against Usman Makhachev in Newark.
And then Dana got on a private jet and flew from Newark to
I don't know if he
Dublin.
ever got on the plane.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. But it was around that time, Saturday night, that they got word that earlier in the day, Saturday, he injured his foot to the point where he couldn't walk well, he could hardly walk, blah, blah, blah. 2 days later at a press conference, you can't show up, you're about to sell a fight, and you're on crutches or limping profusely, right?
I must agree that is not a good look. And no matter who you are, it's not a good look to get caught perpetrating some disgusting, embarrassing habit. You know what I'm talking about. And if you have one of these disgusting and embarrassing habits, like my buddy Vinny, then let me recommend that you replace that bad habit with a good habit. I'm talking about Fume. This is a diffusive device which simply flavors air. And I keep it in my pocket all the time because I love it. And it is proven to be super effective at helping people drop nasty, bad habits and replace it with a good one. Plus, they've got a cool new flavor of core, which goes in the diffusive device to flavor air. The new flavor is called Peach Blush. I'm a big fan of the spearmint. I love the mint. They've got so many awesome flavors, and they're doing great work. So get on the train to a healthier, happier you by going to tryfum.com. That's TRYFUM.com and use the promo code STEVEO to get a free gift with your journey pack. They call it a journey pack because this is how you start a journey to a healthier, happier you. And the free gift is a lot of fun. So one more time, go to tryfum.com and use the promo code STEVEO for that free gift with your journey pack. And let's get back to it. Right.
So there was all this drama. Okay, what's going to happen? Sunday morning, Hunter Campbell and company of the UFC call Chandler and his guys and say, like, did you leave yet? No. Don't leave just yet. This thing may be on ice. So it's going back and forth. By Sunday afternoon, they pull the plug on it. No one says anything. Now, at this point, I'm hearing everything like it's off, it's off, it's off. The reason I'm being told that's off the record, you know, it's still warfare and it's still a fight, and there are still things that if they're told to you off the record you have to respect. And they were planning on fighting. Conor was planning on fighting. Monday morning we wake up to the announcement that the presser has been canceled, but no reason given.
Right.
I go on my show and I say, look, everyone's out there speculating that he's, in jail, he got arrested, he did this, that. I'm telling you, it's none of those things. And I listed every single possibility but one: injury. Some got it, some didn't. Oh, what do you know? You don't know anything. Like, there's some new fans that, they're new. They don't know.
All right.
Okay.
I take it back.
Conor
I can't
McGregor,
accept it.
Conor McGregor later that day tweets, I look forward to seeing you all in the octagon, but never puts the date. Never says I'll be there on June 29th. Never says I'll be there at UFC 303. That was another sign. Couple days pass, looking good. Couple days pass, looking bad. It keeps going back and forth. Now I'm hearing they're calling everyone. Alex Pereira, Max Holloway. Pereira's in Australia. They're looking at other people. There's Yuri who's ready to go. So it keeps going back and forth. And I was trying to update people every step of the way, and I was right every step of the way. But I just couldn't say the injury because I was asked not to, and I always have to respect that. Even if it serves me to not respect it, or it serves the audience not respect, if you tell me something, if I don't have your trust, if you tell me something and don't believe that I'm going to keep it in this vault, then what am I?
Right.
I have nothing. I wouldn't be here anymore. Like, I wouldn't be, whatever factor I am covering this sport would not exist if I was Loose Lips McGee just telling everyone secrets. So if I'm told X, Y, and Z, but you can't talk about Z, I have to respect that. And so I tried my best to dance around it as much as possible. Again, some got it, some didn't, but it was because of the foot.
Then I accept that.
Yeah.
As I said, I take
There's
it
no
back.
smoking gun.
I do accept that. And it was before the foot injury, the pinky, that was revealed, that Chael was saying with absolute certainty.
I love Chael, but he was not right.
Yeah, he was saying absolute certainty that Conor was in rehab.
Yeah.
And that was not true.
Chael may have his reporting, but I never heard that.
Yeah.
And I mean, even now, again, you may say, like, what's a pinky toe? You should fight.
But
to me, there's too much. Certainly, a lot of people were saying that, and the irony that Pereira had an injured toe made it worse. But for Conor, there was way too much on the line in that fight to go in injured, because he went in injured against DP in 2021, the last time we saw him, and look what happened. So I think he just wants to be 100%. But part of the issue is he could have fought in April at UFC 300, but they wanted to save him for June, and he probably could have come back sooner. But the UFC is such a behemoth. It's not so much like, hey, what date do you want to fight, like it would be if I was Eddie Hearn and you were Anthony Joshua in boxing. It's, hey, we have this slot open, you're going to have to wait.
Right. Which is amazing.
It's amazing because they're such a behemoth, but if you're Conor McGregor, the biggest star in the history of the sport, you want to be like, no, just give me this date. Let me fight at the Sphere.
Right.
But it doesn't work that way.
Now, nobody seems to address or nor did they ever that one shocking interview where Conor was sitting next to Jake Gyllenhaal,
coked out of his face,
in a press junket for his Roadhouse movie.
Yes.
And he's just like, I mean, I'm not even going to speculate what was causing him to like have these tics, like twitching, like that one to
the right
there, like
top right. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that was just plain alarming. And I say that, of course I have a history with substance abuse. To me, that looks like a guy who's actively...
I've never talked to him. I talked to him before this came out. He was doing promotion for Roadhouse, but this hadn't come out yet. And I haven't interviewed him since. So I don't know what's going on there. I've seen it, obviously. And yeah, I mean, you would know better than me. I've never tried anything like that, so I will take your word for it. But I don't know. I saw other theories that he was up all night, that it was drinking. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you? I mean, you guys are the experts when it comes to this. I don't like to speculate when it comes to things like that because, just out of fairness to everyone.
Sure.
It does me and no one else any good, unless I know for sure.
Right. Hey, I respect that, and I'm not even going to speculate. I'm just going to say that it was disturbing to see that.
I hope we see him back. I think we'll see him back.
He just released some sparring footage.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that?
No, it's fine. I mean, who knows? Who knows when that was shot? I don't know. I know he wants to come back. I hope we see him back. Who knows who he'll be? Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah.
But you can't deny.
How old is Conor now? He's 34 maybe?
I think above that.
Ooh, 36.
Yeah, maybe 35, something like that. 36. Yeah, just turned 36 in July. So...
All right, now
there was a stretch there where it was magic. Yeah. Were you a fan? Do you remember that period?
I was at the point where I was eager to find out when I got done with my shows in the comedy club, and I wasn't yet at the point where I was moving my Instagram app off of the home screen so that I wouldn't inadvertently open it and see a spoiler
result. I love that. That's hardcore. I was telling someone earlier, you are responsible for redesigning the ESPN Plus app. You know about this? This is incredible. He texts me when I'm working at ESPN. They're spoiling the results because the thumbnail for the broken up fights is like the hero shot of the guy with his hands up.
You know what he's also responsible for? The odds during the match.
That's not something that's stuck though. It's not.
I see it all the time. I see it.
It's not like universal though.
Bro, take credit for it.
It's called, Dana called it STEVEO odds.
Really?
STEVEO's odds. Yeah, when you post the live odds during the fight.
What an honor! What a legacy!
Yeah. Now
he's making his mark everywhere he goes.
Now I'm furious with the NFL because they've got these great YouTube videos the NFL puts out after the game concludes, where they condense an entire football game into anywhere from 9 to 14 minutes, but they're giving away who wins with their thumbnails.
Sometimes I'm a big shout out to the Bills. Just wanted to
right there, like
Buffalo Bills. What's it right there? You don't see a score.
It's not overtly giving it away, but I've noticed a trend where, like right here, like the team that they feature.
They win.
Yeah.
You just want like the 2 helmets.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want.
Are you a big NFL guy?
I've become a big NFL guy as a result of them making these games so digestible.
Who's your team?
Oh man, I don't.
Tennessee Titans.
Not yet. I like a lot of teams.
Okay, that's fair.
Last year I picked Detroit Lions, and was thrilled to see them do so fantastically well. This year I picked the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay,
and they're off to a shaky start.
And why?
Largely at random, but I sat next to a couple of the Bengals at a UFC event, I believe in Miami.
Joe Burrow, was he there? He's the man.
Yep.
Not as good as Josh Allen. Why don't you jump on the Bills bandwagon? It's a real hardcore blue-collar town. They love their team. They live and die with their team. Josh Allen, look at this guy. He's dreamy. Best quarterback in the league. I love that, man.
You know what? There are a lot of really cool...
They're close to Canada.
They're close to Canada.
Yep. There are a lot of really cool quarterbacks in the league, man.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, so...
yes.
Your famously turbulent relationship with Dana.
Oh, okay, yes. I wasn't sure where you were going with the dramatic pause there. My famous...
I mean, it's no secret that that Dana's not a big fan of you. You've been...
Wow, you just broke some news. Yeah.
You've been rather objectively critical of Dana. I have a great relationship with Dana. I love him. He's always done such wonderful things for me. I'm profoundly grateful and can't say it enough. I love the UFC and I love everything about it. I believe that my relationship with you is also wonderful and that I can be friends with both of you guys without issue. what can I say? I love the UFC, man, and I'm really excited for this Sphere event. So let's talk about the action, and let's talk about DraftKings Sportsbook. If you're a new customer of DraftKings Sportsbook and you download the app and use the promo code STEVEO, then you make a $5 bet and you automatically get $250 in bonus bets. And with a deal like that, it's time to make some picks for the main card, all right? Now, the first fight on the main card, I've got Ode Osborne. He's a slight underdog, and I don't mind because I think he gets it done. Second fight on the main card, I've got Daniel Zellhuber, okay? I think that's a pretty safe bet. Then these last three bouts, like Ariel said, bangers. Diego Lopez and Brian Ortega. Man, I hate to do this to Brian Ortega because I really like the guy, but I'm going with Diego Lopez. Then Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko. Like I said, I cannot believe that Valentina Shevchenko is an underdog in this. Like, I'm going with Valentina, even though, if I'm honest, I'm rooting for Alexa Grasso. And then we got the main event, and I just think the Sugar Show gets it done. Sugar Sean O'Malley. So, yeah, again, very excited about the Sphere. I mean, who doesn't want to see what this is going to look like? It's going to be incredible. And if you're a new customer of DraftKings Sportsbook and you want to turn $5 into $250 in bonus bets instantly, then download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code STEVEO. And let's get ready for an unbelievable weekend. Oh, man, I'm here in Vegas at the M Resort, and I cannot wait.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or in West Virginia, visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.co/MMA for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
So let's get back to it and ride this baby home.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
We're all big boys.
Now, my question to you is that have you had a lot of people concerned that, oh, I can't be cool with Ariel. That'll burn a bridge with Dana.
No, that's never been said to me. And as you know, some of my closest friends in the sport worked for the UFC.
Right.
Daniel Cormier, Chael Sonnen, etc. Yeah. The Dana thing is unfortunate. It's weird because when I started my career, no one was nicer to me than Dana White. No one gave me more time. I've always said, if I, in the midst of that period, if I don't speak to Dana White ever again, I probably will have spoken to him more than anyone in my career, because he would give me time before the events, after the events, anytime I wanted to call him, text him. When the Patriots were killing the Bills, my team, he's a Pats fan, he would send me texts, he would send me videos making fun of me, all that stuff. Like, we had a really, really good relationship. And unfortunately, around 15, 16, it started to fizzle, and everyone thinks it's because of one thing.
The Brock Lesnar thing.
No, the Brock Lesnar thing was like the cherry on top of the cherry on top of the cherry. By then, we weren't speaking anymore. The Brock Lesnar thing happened 3 months after I had been let go from Fox, because Lorenzo Fertitta told Fox to let me go because they were unhappy that Rory McDonald came on my show to talk about his contract that he was unhappy with. And so everyone thinks that there's like a smoking gun or a big thing that happened behind the scenes. Like, none of that ever happened. It was just sort of like the dissolution of a relationship. And ultimately, what I truly believe is that Dana, even during those turbulent times, always liked me, always had an affinity for me, always had a soft spot in his heart for me. He may deny that. It's his loyalty to Lorenzo which ultimately ended the relationship, because Lorenzo was the one who would listen to everything I said. He was the business guy, and he didn't like that I would talk about Bellator or free agency or revenue sharing or unions and things like that. Dana didn't really watch my stuff on that kind of level. And none of that was malicious. None of that was mean-spirited. I'm a sports fan, so I know that in the NBA the players get 50% of the revenue. I know that in the NFL there's a salary cap, things like that. And so I would try to equate those sports to this sport and say, well, why don't the fighters get any percentage of the TV deals? Why don't they get a percentage of the sponsorship deals and things like that? And so or a certain percentage. And so he would get annoyed and he would tell Dana, like, this guy isn't loyal to us. He isn't on our team. Well, I was never on their team. I'm a journalist. I went to school for journalism. I have a degree in journalism. I can't be on your team. But I could be respectful. I could be fair. I could be, unbiased. I could, tell it like it is, like my hero Howard Cosell used to say all the time. And so I never was malicious. I never did anything below the belt. I never broke trust. I never reported something that I was told not to report. It just became this thing that kept growing and growing, and I wanted to be a journalist and they wanted me to be a mouthpiece. They wanted me to be something else, and there was a conflict there.
I wonder if that's not the most comprehensive and thoughtful summation of the whole situation.
It's really that, man. It truly is. And I don't want anything from Dana White in the sense that, like, sure, would it be great if our relationship was better, if I could have him on my show, if I could interview him, if I could text him, if I could get scoops and stuff like that. But ultimately, I'm at a point in my life where I don't want beef. I don't want conflict. I hate the fact that we have to even talk about this. I don't think I've ever been unprofessional or unfair or hit him below the belt. I think that he has done some pretty nasty things to me, and he'll probably see this and say that I'm playing the victim card. He always loves to say that. But what do you want me to say? He's done great things to me? No. He's taken away job opportunities. He's taking money from my family because he's called them up and said, don't use Ariel or get rid of Ariel, things like that. Like, what do you want me to say? That's great. I loved it. Still to this day, if he walked in here, I would shake his hand and say, thank you for everything. Thank you for doing what you did to the UFC. Thank you for letting me live my dreams. I'm able to compartmentalize things. So maybe I don't agree with X, Y, and Z, but I could still appreciate. And I was on Dan Le Batard's show earlier this week, and I was praising him for the sphere and praising him for the promotion. I know exactly who he is and his place in the sport and what he's done, and how any of us covering MMA wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for him. But I also can't deny all the shitty things that have happened between us over the last 8 or so years. If it wasn't for him, I'd probably still be at ESPN. He made my time there so unbearable that by the end I felt soulless. I felt dead inside. I had to leave because little things like he would come on set, I would have to leave the building. I was told that I couldn't be in his line of sight. Hated so much that I was a part of the broadcast partner. ESPN was his dream, and now all of a sudden I'm standing there saying, hello, I have 3 shows at ESPN. ESPN was great to me. And so I just couldn't do that. But here I am, just signed this partnership with Yahoo Sports, own my show, own my combat sports hub, employ 20 new people, creating jobs. So I haven't gone anywhere. I've been able to thrive. I've been able to succeed. When they kicked me out of the building in 2016, they said, we put a bullet in your head, your career is over, you'll never cover this sport again. That's a powerful thing to hear from the most powerful man in the sport. And 8 years later, here I am. All for what?
I mean,
would anyone remember the Brock Lesnar story if the aftermath never happened? Right. No one remembers any of this stuff. None of it is important. Listen, I get it from their perspective. I totally get it. You have something that you're keeping inside, it's a secret, and all of a sudden here's this guy who reports it. But that's the job of an insider. Now, these days I don't really do as much of that because the juice isn't really worth the squeeze. I don't enjoy it. I enjoy the relationships, the show, the interviews, that type of thing. But it's no different than, I don't know if you know these names, but Adrian Wojnarowski in basketball, Adam Schefter in the NFL, Jeff Passan in baseball, Bob McKenzie in hockey. Like, that's the job of an insider. If you do things the right way, fairly, you're right, you're accurate, you report them the right way, you source them the right way, I was never wrong, still batting 1,000, then that's journalism.
And
by the way, and I'm sorry to interrupt, it's a sign of the growth of the sport that people want to report on these things. There was once a time where no one wanted to report on the UFC, way before me. So like, this is a byproduct of your success.
Sure. And in the big picture of things, you've participated in that growth tremendously. I mean, and that's why, I say, sitting here, I don't see anything controversial about it, because it's the people who are going to buy the pay-per-view for the UFC Sphere event who are tuning in to watch me talk to you.
I'd like to think so. I would say if you watch my show, 95% of it is positive, all gearing to the next show or reacting to the previous show, telling stories about these great athletes, showing you their human side, their real side, their family side, their emotions. When Dustin Poirier comes on and pours his heart out, how does that make you not want to watch him more?
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so...
You're a net positive for UFC.
I would like to think so.
I think it's an objective fact that you are a net positive for
I
UFC.
appreciate that, and I think that we are so far down this this path of this friction that, maybe in his mind there's no one doing it. Maybe it's the loyalty to Lorenzo. There are plenty of people at the UFC that have a good relationship with it, and there's this misconception or revisionist history that I'm banned, that when they banned me in 2016 because of the Brock Lesnar thing, that thing has stuck, which is the craziest thing. Like, watching this revisionist history happen in front of me is so weird. That banning lasted 48 hours. I was back on Monday. I was at the next show, UFC 200. I went to every single UFC pay-per-view between that banning and 2020, the weekend before the pandemic, Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. I was at that event at the T-Mobile Arena. I have not applied for a credential since then because the pandemic hit, ESPN didn't let us travel, and then my contract ran out and I left. And when I left and I kind of started my independent Helwani era, if you will, I made a promise to myself that I would not go back until certain things happened. Previously, a few years back, certain shitty things happen that I've never been able to sort of come to terms with, and I don't want to go back until those things are, I don't mean to be cryptic, but I just said to myself, I don't want to go back until these things are either rectified or addressed or whatever. So I have not, and the UFC can back, you could do your own journalism and ask them if I've ever applied for a credential. So, by the way, internally, I may be banned. I don't know, but I have never applied for a credential and been refused. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to my room because I want to, not because...
Yeah, fuck. I don't know if that's the thing, but it's the truth. You don't believe me?
No, I'm not questioning it.
I just haven't done it.
I understand that.
I don't... There's no desire.
I know, and I'm not picking on you.
I feel like you don't believe me.
I have zero doubt that
it's like you're not breaking up with me, I'm breaking up with you.
Right.
It's like George Costanza when he knew he was going to get fired.
I believe strongly that as soon as somebody says one thing which is untrue, then you have to question everything that they say from that point on. And I believe that you have been so meticulous in your rigorous honesty that I have absolutely no reason to question anything that you ever say. So to respond,
I'm a BS,
I absolutely believe every word that you say.
I appreciate that
at all times.
And anytime you hear him talk about me, it's always like, oh, he's a scumbag, he's this, but there's never any he did X, Y, and Z. Oh, he's a victim. He's these are just names. I could handle the names. But tell me exactly what I did that any other journalist on the planet, not in MMA media, because MMA media is in a bit of a sad state at the moment, and I'm trying to change that with my new site on Crown, and I will.
Help me understand the problem with MMA media.
Well, they've been able to foster an environment where it's just all an extension of PR. There are no tough questions being asked, and when I say tough, you don't have to.
Oh, okay. Because when I hear MMA media,
yeah,
I think of these various YouTube channels which will curate a daily news.
Yeah, you love those.
But I only love one of them.
Yeah. And they all serve a great purpose.
It's called Full Mount MMA.
Yeah, no, they're all great.
No, they're not all great.
Okay,
Full
fine.
Mount MMA is great. And I don't like the other ones.
Well, when I think of MMA media, I'm talking about the people at the press conferences.
Like Nina Drama. Like,
no, listen.
Yeah, but she's a UFC employee.
Yeah, I have no problem with her. I think,
but they do like YouTube videos, like day in the life and type.
Sure,
stuff.
Well, understood, but you got to expect that the UFC is going to pay their employees to.
No, she serves a purpose. She's more of like a, I guess, like a content creator for the UFC, an influencer for the UFC.
Exactly.
I don't think she would call herself an MMA journalist, but maybe I'm wrong.
You're talking about the guys in the press room.
It's just Media Row. Like there was once a time where you looked around Media Row and it was like, damn, like these are some heavy hitters. And now I just feel like it's a lot of just kind of. I mean, have you watched the press conferences? It's not.
I love watching Dana's.
Yeah, I mean, like you really get to see it at like the Thursday press conferences, and it's just not like there was a time where Dana would do scrums with us. He would answer everything under the sun, and you're just not getting that because you're not getting those questions anymore. And perhaps it's because we've leaned more into the influencers or the YouTubers. And don't get me wrong, I believe there's a place for everyone. But when I think of MMA journalism, MMA media, which is an important thing, I don't feel like it's as present. There's great MMA journalists out there, but they're not incentivized to go to these events because they've been kind of boxed out.
Okay.
But like the guy that was questioning Dana on John Jones being pound for pound a couple weeks ago. I think
that was Kevin Iole. He's a OG legend.
But they went back and forth for a long time.
Which I think is healthy.
Yeah.
People love that stuff.
But you're saying if somebody new came in like that, they would probably get boxed out eventually.
Well, it's just like there's just not enough of that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, again, I always feel, name one time, obviously this is on the spot, but like I always feel it's okay to push back. It's okay to question. It's okay to, ask follow-up.
Disagree.
Yeah, but it has to be respectful. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's always been my style. At least I think it is. And I think Dana used to love those debates that we would have. I think he genuinely enjoyed them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll tell you I'm a freaking liar and I don't know what I'm talking about. But like, I think it was great for both of us, to be honest.
Do you agree with Dana's Mount Rushmore? Did you see the names that he chose?
He chose Conor, Ronda, John Jones.
This dude needs a raise, I'm telling you. The Google guy.
Yeah.
Okay. It's amazing.
Yeah, click on that one.
Yeah. See, okay, so
George St. Pierre.
So I may be crazy, but on Saturday morning, Demetrius Johnson retired on Friday night. Saturday morning, I put out my Mount Rushmore, and I think it kind of spurred this discussion.
Okay.
Not trying to give myself a pat on the back, but the only reason why I bring it up is when I was talking about it, I said it was my Mount Rushmore of UFC champions, the 4 best UFC champions of all time. When he talks about his Mount Rushmore,
it's people who moved the sport in a meaningful way.
Yes, and a little bit of business, right?
Right. I mean, clearly, because there's no discussion for Conor being one of the greatest fighters of all time. He's not on anybody's list, but he's done more for the sport as far as growing it and making it interesting to more people.
1000%.
Same with Ronda Rousey.
Biggest draw, biggest star. But I also would separate the men and women. So I have 2 lists. So the UFC champion list is the easiest debate of all time as far as like the Mount Rushmore, and the Mount Rushmore has to be 4, right? If we're going off of the actual famous mountain.
So who's yours?
George St. Pierre. This is in no particular order. Just George St. Pierre, Demetrius Johnson, John Jones, and Anderson Silva. Those are the 4. I mean, and if you want to add a 5th, it's Jose Aldo, and it's pretty easy in my opinion. Khabib didn't have enough title defenses. Didn't fight the caliber. Like all those guys have multiple, if not double digits, almost double digits title defenses. It's easy. And then on the women's side of things, it was Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko, Ronda Rousey, and Ioana Jędrzejczyk. And I think that's a pretty easy one too.
I don't disagree.
So when I say UFC, I mean like these are the most dominant and decorated UFC champions of all time. When he puts his and you know what's the fun thing? Like people get all worked up about Dana's pound for pound list thing with John Jones and even this. I love this stuff because to me this is barbershop talk. Like this is like you and I are sitting in the chair and
football,
and you can all like he could give me
Kobe
a great,
or LeBron.
Yes. There's no right answer.
Yeah.
So I don't know why people get worked up over it. Like and you will never be able to establish a right answer because I will say X, Y, and Z, and then you'll come back with ABC. So this is what makes the fight game so fun. Oh, this guy is the greatest of all time. No, this guy is the great. I love that shit. I could do that all day. But what about this? But what about that? But he moved up and he has two title defenses in this weight class, and DC went to heavyweight, and John Jones only has, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
That shit's the best. I love that.
and then there's they got caught.
And then there's a whole other discussion about the PEDs, and then there's the discussion. I think he was on PEDs, and he was in the era where they didn't test for PEDs. So you could go all day with this stuff. So, is his list egregious? No, but I think his criteria is different than mine.
Yeah, I mean
he's talking about the biggest stars in the history of the sport.
It's very interesting that he would have, given what his criteria clearly is with Conor, with Ronda, with John Jones, that he chose to have George St. Pierre and not Chuck Liddell, because Chuck Liddell was the first face of the UFC.
Also, a super close friend of his.
Yeah.
Interesting note here in this article, courtesy of my friends at Yahoo Sports. Shout out. 2020, he was asked the same question, and he said Nunes, Royce, Chuck, and Jones. And like, it's not like Ronda fought between 2020 and 2024. You know what I mean? Like, all these dudes are older. Conor hasn't had a more meaningful run, so it just shows any day of the week this can change. You know
Interesting.
I mean, yeah, they're all very viable names.
Who's yours?
Ah, man. Of course, John Jones. I mean, I just got to ask myself before I continue, what's my criteria?
There you go.
Because, I like, you know what I really like? The way that Michelle Pereira did and continues to do. Not Alex, Michelle Pereira.
You're putting Michelle what?
With the backflips in the middle of the fight.
What?
The guy's doing
you just went from John Jones to Michelle Pereira?
I'm just saying.
Shout out. I love it.
And my criteria is the excitement factor. There's nothing more exciting to me than a dominant fighter just breakdancing his way into the octagon, where once the bell rings and the fight's underway, he's going to be literally doing backflips onto his opponent. And so recently, Michelle Pereira was almost disqualified for doing a front flip illegal knee to the head of a downed opponent. That's so exciting to me.
We should just end. Steve-O names Mount Rushmore, John Jones, Michelle Pereira. No one else matters. That was unbelievable. That was just a flex that you are a hardcore fan. If you're bringing up Michelle Pereira as your number 2.
I mean, like, just excitement factor.
Is he really on there? You're saying he's on your Mount Rushmore?
No. I mean, I stopped myself saying
you got to finish the Mount Rushmore.
Clearly, you've got to ask yourself what your criteria is. There are people who built the sport, people who expanded the sport. That's Dana's priority.
Mount Rushmore of heels. Like, who's the biggest?
He's
you could do a million different ones. I just think
I'm like for exciting moments. And I just like that gratuitous acrobatics in the middle of the fight.
No, I get it. I love it.
So who else?
What's your criteria? Acrobatics?
Well, no, just showmanship.
Showmanship.
Pizzazz.
So when you think Mount Rushmore, you're thinking showmanship?
I'm thinking when have I been like, oh man, I've never seen that. That's
Standing O, Bravo, Nate Diaz.
Sean O'Malley?
Sean O'Malley. And
this is a great list. I love this list. The internet's going to love this.
Yeah, I'm a tremendous fan of Sean O'Malley. I think that his showmanship he's
unbelievable.
Is top notch. And I think that by that measure, I should include Conor.
Yeah, 100%. If you're talking excitement, then yeah.
Yeah.
He's never been in a boring fight.
Right. I mean, dude, how about Michael Chandler?
How about him? On the list?
I mean, just for sheer excitement.
Well, now you're past 4.
Right. So I got to kick Jon Jones off. And,
wow. Damn, he's going to block you.
I think he unblocked. Like, he's back and forth.
Yes.
I think you and I.
You too?
Yeah, you and I think have both gone in and out of favor.
Yeah, what did
and I don't even know where I'm at.
I thought you were like...
I was really tight with them. And then I took umbrage with something that I felt was disrespectful that George Masvidal did, and I believe that it was them sharing managers. That George Masvidal's manager poo-pooed my name with Jon Jones, and that's my best guess as to how.
That's not cool.
It's my best guess as to how things went south. But then it came out of the fire. I became buddies with Jon again.
Oh, so now you're good.
But then I don't know.
Now you're not. I was gonna say, can you put in a good word for me?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I just I can't pretend to understand, and I don't need to understand.
That's fine.
You know, I worry about my side of the street.
Of course. I've never heard you say anything negative about him. In fact, I think that you did a great interview with him.
Well, thank you.
And then on your special, you featured him too.
I did.
Yes, I thought you guys were boys.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Dude, thank you for even knowing about my special.
Of course.
It's wonderful. And yeah, it kind of broke my heart. It kind of broke my heart that my bromance with the GOAT, Jon Jones, fell apart.
You'll be back.
Yeah. You know what? We could take a photo. I'll text it to him.
I don't know if that will go over well. At the moment, he's not the biggest fan. I think it's because the last. Oh, he got mad at me recently because I said something. I think it was. Well, now it's because
I remember this, but I need you to.
He wrote something. What was it about? It was something on Instagram.
It was something that.
Something about Tom Aspinall or something like that.
It's something that he took issue with, and he had clearly misinterpreted what your position really was.
No, I was hoping not. Oh, there it is.
That's October 31st.
Hey. Oh, Francis Ngannou. Yes, because I was quoting him, and he didn't like that I was quoting him.
Just cause?
I think that as much as I love Jon Jones, as much as I mourn our friendship,
it'll be on there if you go a little lower.
I think that his position with Tom Aspinall lacks consistency.
Oh, it's crazy. Okay, and Jon Jones says you were looking. Oh, because I said something. He called me a backstabbing shit talk. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
I haven't asked him for an interview in years myself, but
I remember.
And then I brought up the actual quote in the thing that I was referring to.
Yeah. No, you clarified your position, and it was
so much drama. I just want to talk to these guys, report on the sport, and go watch my kid's soccer game. Is that so much to ask?
Where does your relationship stand with the Gringo Poppy?
Brendan.
Yeah, has there been any...
He actually said a lot of nice things about me recently, which I appreciated.
Nice.
I am in a state, in a phase in my life where I don't want beef. I know people enjoy the Helwani 10-7 stuff. I'm not seeking this. I will respond if I feel like you are telling lies about me, if you're making things up about me, if you're being unfair, whatever, but I'm not seeking beefs.
Yeah,
I think that's a bit of a misconception. I've never done that, but I will, you know.
Oh, I mean, he drew the ire.
Yeah, he pissed me off. You know why? Because I was in between my chapters, ESPN, and then going to Vox and Spotify.
And he suggested that you were not professional.
That no one likes to work with me.
Yeah.
And that really hit me in the heart because I've always prided myself on that. It's funny, and some people have brought this up.
And I now feel bad for stirring this pot.
No, it's fine.
And bringing up this
3 years
thing.
later, here I am. I went to start this new venture with Yahoo, and with every entity that I spoke to, it was always like, it's not just me. You have to bring this army of people with you, right? And it wasn't just, so everyone has come with me. And some have left great opportunities to come with me. And so now fans have resurfaced that clip and said, like, wait, the same dude that this guy said was horrible to work with has now just like created 20 new jobs for people and have brought people with him. Like anyone who I spoke to in this process when I left, because MMA Hour is no more. The show that you were on, did you know that? I don't know if you know this.
The MMA Hour.
Yeah, it's no more.
No more.
You didn't know that?
Well, I was wondering if that was the case.
Yes, it's no more. It's now the Ariel Helmani show, and it's now going to be on my YouTube channel, and I own the show.
And will it be in the same studio space in New York City?
No, we have moved.
Will the trinkets on your desk?
Yes, they're coming with me. Same trinkets from 2009. They're coming with me. The studio looks similar. It's not going to be a downgrade, but we're building it now, so we're on a bit of a hiatus.
So same trinkets, new sign,
new logo, yeah, new name,
yeah, new,
which is a
sign.
huge deal for me.
There's gonna be a new LED neon sign.
Yes, I've always looked up to Howard Stern, the Howard Stern Show, the Dan Patrick Show, the Dan Le Batard Show, and I always felt like one day I want my show to just be my name, not for vanity, but I want people to say like, oh, Helwani, oh, I know what that show is. That's combat sports. That's MMA.
Right.
Like now one of the biggest guys in sports media is Pat McAfee. You know what that is? That's football, right? And then he talks about other things.
He goes well beyond.
But the anchor is football. That's his
thing.
Yeah. So my anchor is combat.
He's great, too.
He's fantastic. He's unbelievable. I look up to him.
Pat McAfee.
He's unbelievable. Shout out to him. He's
and out of Indianapolis.
That's where he played.
That's where his studio is.
Yeah, because he played for the Colts.
Sure.
So now it's a huge deal for me to just have the Ariel Helwani show.
I love it
because I loved having wrestlers on, boxers on, etc. And I didn't like when people would be like, "Oh, you have Canelo. Why do you have Canelo on the MMA Hour? He's not an MMA fighter." The show evolved. By the way, the show was more than an hour like 12 years ago. Like the name was a misnomer. It was no longer an hour. It was like 4 hours. So it was time to shed it, and I'm very excited about the new era. I hope you'll join us.
I will absolutely.
You're going to be on our... When is this coming out, by the way?
This will be out tomorrow.
We could break news.
Let's break news.
Well, we have a kickoff show. It's a huge deal. Tonight, Friday night, September 13th, live on the YouTube channel, or if you're at the Venetian here in Vegas, right next door to the Sphere. It's literally right next door, right
Sphere.
Sphere. Well, the Sphere, lowercase the Sphere.
Sorry.
Right next door to Sphere.
To Sphere Fair. Yeah, I guess.
Say the Madison Square Garden.
You're right. And it's garden singular. And right before you go to the UFC ceremonial weigh-ins at 7, from 4 o'clock to around 6:30, we'll be live for our first episode of the Ariel Helwani Show. And the one and only Steve-O will be joining us.
I absolutely
Among other luminaries.
It's going to be an honor. I love it.
It's a huge deal. Thank you.
Now, the ceremonial weigh-ins, 7 p.m.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that because I'm going to be with you live at, is it 5:30?
Something like that. Yeah, 6? And you could pop right over. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were asking, we were talking about the event at Sphere.
Yes.
Noche UFC. You were wondering what is going to be on the screen during the actual fight, and will it serve as a distraction to the fighters? I understand it's going to be a static image and of a cartoon variety. I heard.
Really?
Yes,
you got the inside scoop. You're breaking news now. By the way, they don't love when you break the news. You want those tickets. Be careful. Tread lightly.
This was gleaned from a report by Forbes on YouTube. They had a Forbes reporter talking all about the Sphere event for UFC.
I just wonder if it's going to be distracting to the fighters. I'm sure they've thought of all of this, obviously. I can't wait.
Man, we haven't even talked about the fights.
Yeah.
Can I ask you how shocked you are that Valentina Shevchenko is an underdog?
I'm not too shocked. I mean, her last fight was a year ago. It was close. I thought she won that fight.
I think everybody thinks she won that fight. It came down to the one judge
10-8.
that made it a draw.
Yeah. That was crazy. But, again, Father Time undefeated. Has it been too long of a layoff for her? Is she getting up there in age? You see that.
How old is she? Valentina Shevchenko age?
I'm going to say 36. Maybe even 37.
36. Okay.
Yeah.
Alexa Grasso age?
I'm going to say 31. Close. No. G.R.A.
Alexa Grasso, age.
There it is.
31. There you go.
Dang. Just turned 31.
To look at Alexa Grasso, it's almost impossible not to root for her.
Oh, she's lovely.
She just has she's a great fighter. A likable appearance.
I'm so happy for her because when she came into Invicta, Invicta, the all-female organization, there were a lot of high hopes for her. She was a great boxer, but didn't have the complete game. And now, when she submitted Valentina, it was insane. I can't believe we're approaching 2 years since that happened. It's been a long
That was the most exciting thing. And I remember I had just so recently had the conversation with Dana about live odds. I think I texted Dana, live odds, please.
This is a flex.
At the during this fight, they were posted. The live odds were it was in the thousands. Like it was like a 1,000. Like Shevchenko was like minus 1,000 favorite at the beginning of the round in which she was submitted by Alexa Grasso.
Wow. Yeah, it was one of the biggest upsets of the year.
Immediately before John Jones.
Cyril Gane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest upsets of the year, and I think a lot of people thought that she would get exposed in the rematch, and the rematch was super close. But I do think that Valentina did enough. So, man, every time I think about this fight and every time I think about the main event, I get a headache. Like there's so many different scenarios. Right. I really have no idea how they're going to play out.
I think that we can safely say that the biggest challenge O'Malley has faced in his career was Petr Yan. I think a lot of people would argue that Petr Yan was robbed by the judges in that. I think
close one.
I remember thinking, ooh, they gave it to. It was close. It was really close. Of course, and then there's the Cheeto loss. Not more. Petr Yan was more challenging than Cheeto.
Yeah, I think on paper, a lot of people thought the Aljo fight would be his most challenging fight. It just didn't pan out that way. I think Aljo kind of got, the short end of the stick because he had just fought Cejudo 3 months prior.
Right.
It's a quick turnaround for a guy who was a little bit banged up, who won 25 minutes against one of the best fighters of all time. But I think this is going to be the toughest test.
Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm ignorant, but when I think about the Petr Yan O'Malley fight, I feel like this Merab is the kind of close. Stylistically, I feel like it's like that Petr Yan fight, maybe even the best version.
Oh yeah, Merab is a much better grappler in my opinion. His freaking gas tank is insane. He never stops. Like you see what he did against Jose Aldo, against Yan himself. He's just unbelievable. So
he's also very emotional around this. Do you think that's going to be a liability?
No, I don't think so. I almost see like two scenarios. If you told me you saw the fight and it ended in a knockout, Sean is winning. If you told me you saw the fight and it ended in a decision, Merab is winning. Do you know what I mean?
I think that
I could see Sean catching him, and I could see Merab grinding it out. I'm just not 100% certain which way.
But then again, that Petr Yan fight went the distance, and O'Malley got the decision.
3 rounds.
Right. Yeah.
And a super close one. And I wouldn't necessarily say, like, if Sean, I know a lot of people don't want to give Sean his props, his due. I think he's incredible. If he beats Merab and then beats Umar Nurmagomedov, like, you cannot say a thing about that guy.
You can't.
Because everyone thought the Achilles heel was the wrestling, the grappling. He beats Aljo, regardless of the timeline. Cheeto was a great matchup for him, but he did exercise that demon. Cheeto did beat him. Then it's Merab, then it's Umar, and I know it's 2 big ifs. He still has to get the job done.
You're
but
gonna say Ilya or Max Holloway.
After that, who knows who's on top at 145? But I don't need him to jump around. There's enough going. I'd love to see him fight Corey Sandhagen one day. I know he just lost to Umar, but I think he's great. And there's a bunch of other guys as well. So I just hope that if he wins, especially on Saturday, people start giving him the respect. And I don't mean like he's a very popular fighter, but I feel like people still don't want to give him his due. They say he was gifted a title shot and all this nonsense. Like, come on, man, give the guys props.
For sure. He's spectacularly talented. And I was under the impression that Merab was a favorite at one point, but that's simply not the case, huh?
At this juncture,
no. But
when it opened, might have been. I don't really pay attention to the odds too much. Sometimes I like to look at it as like a frame of reference, like, is maybe someone's popularity swaying things or anything like that. But that's like a pick'em right there.
It's a what?
That's a pick'em. Like, it's basically a pick'em.
Yeah.
Minus 118.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's pretty much a pick'em too.
Yeah.
The co-main event. And I'm guessing Diego's a favorite.
A bigger favorite. Yeah. And then these guys I'm not familiar with.
Zell Huber is a big-time prospect.
I'm sure I've seen every one of their fights, but I don't remember.
At this point, we're just getting into showcasing the young Mexican talent.
Right.
Like I said, a lot of people were upset with the lack of depth, if you will, but this event cost so much that it couldn't be 300 level because it's just that makes for a very expensive card,
Right. It is exciting, man. The last time we spoke, and by the way, I really, really cherish our relationship.
Oh, me too, man.
I genuinely cherish our relationship. I love how I love how we'll text each other. Like there was a time when you were like, hey, do you mind if I FaceTime you? I'm like having a family dinner, and it's like just an interesting. Say, hell yeah! And then we get on FaceTime and we're just talking about fighting as if we're on a podcast, but we're not. We're just like buddies talking about fighting. And it was under these circumstances that we were talking about the BMF fight between Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje before it happened, and you said that you were not a fan of it, that you felt that it was holding up the lightweight division, or that there was no reason for it.
Yes. Okay, I didn't.
And you made a compelling argument for why you were not a fan of the BMF.
I just don't like the belt. I don't feel like the belt means anything. I thought it was cool when Nate created it. Nate created it first. The greatest thing about that belt was how it was born. Nate beats Anthony Pettis. He gets on the microphone and he goes, and with this belt, I want to defend it against Jorge Masvidal. And everyone's like, what belt? And then, you know what I mean? And then it got corporatized, which is fine. But to me, I consider me old school. Isn't the baddest motherfucker the champ? If I'm Islam Makhachev, I'm the baddest motherfucker. Isn't that the whole point?
I don't disagree.
It's just gimmicky and unnecessary.
Is there any truth to the notion that that it was born of necessity because the ESPN deal required that there be a belt on the line?
It was resurrected out of a necessity in that it was done. Dana's on the record when Masvidal beat Nate, he said that's it, it's done, and they kind of just put it on a shelf. And then there was the Salt Lake City card last July, not this July, last July 2023. They couldn't get a main event, a proper one. They didn't think that Dustin versus Justin was big enough. Slap the belt, bring it out of retirement, and now it's a thing. Great fight, great finish, and then of course Justin wins and all that, but it wasn't even in the same weight class.
Right. That is true. Of course, after the fact, you weren't a fan of the BMF for Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje. It turned out to be a pretty special.
But by the way, I never said I wasn't a fan of the fight per se. I just didn't think it needed the belt.
I seem to recall you saying that it was holding up a division.
No, what I believe I said was I was surprised that Max took it and Justin, because both of them were in line for a title shot, right? Because Ilya, so Ilya beats Alex Volkanovski at 145. Max is next. Justin was next for Islam, right? Yeah. So both of them had title shots, and they decided to do this, which, God bless, 300, no one put a gun to their head, and Justin loses. He's nowhere near the title shot talk. Max wins, and now all of a sudden he's going to fight for the belt. So it was just in the moment, I really wanted to see Ilya Max and Justin Islam. And I felt like, okay, now you're taking a guy from 45 to 55. Fun fight on paper, but no one really... It felt like it was being cobbled together just to give a little star power to 300, which is fine. But I do like... I like a story. I like a build. I like a meritocracy. I like this guy moving his way up to get to the belt, because to me, the champion is the BMF.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Man. You go after Ariel, you best not miss.
I don't even think that's that like complex. It's just like that's what this whole thing is built on. This guy's 10, and then he's 8, and then he's 6, and then he's 5, and then he's 2.
I thought that was the ultimate gotcha. I was like, oh, you said you didn't like this fight, and look at what happened. It was the most amazing thing.
It was great. I mean, if I put like, you know, 2 dudes in my backyard and they fight, it doesn't mean they can't produce a good fight, but it's like it's a dumb idea. You know, it's still a dumb idea.
You're fantastic. I just love it. I love it so much.
I love the fact that I used to, you know, stay up till like 11:30 or midnight to watch MTV, and you'd be doing crazy shit, and now I'm just like hanging out in your van.
Oh, dude,
it's fucking nuts.
It's great, man. Like you're genuinely a friend.
That means
I genuinely
Steve-O, call me.
Nice guy.
That's crazy, man.
I cherish our relationship.
That's amazing.
I love the way that we don't even have to be recording ourselves for any for any audience. That we just enjoy talking about fighting. I love it.
Mutual love and passion. Did you ever go to the MTV spring breaks? Remember, like in the mid-90s, those were incredible. Limp Bizkit and Eminem.
I feel like you went there one time. We were looking at old footage.
I went to spring break in there, and MTV might have been there, but I wasn't like...
You weren't featured? Carson Daly, Singled Out. You remember Singled Out with Jenny McCarthy? I mean, what a time.
I remember
I feel like you guys were there, no?
That was a little bit before.
There was nothing like coming home from school and turning that on. You're like, whoa, what is this? You know? Who are these people? This was like right in your sweet spot with them, no? Late 90s?
I did a lot of spring break stuff.
Okay.
I went to many spring break locations.
But not with MTV.
And I don't believe that it was ever really part of MTV programming.
What about MTV Spring Break Steve-O and the... I feel like I saw you guys there. You never did something with... Lonely.
Yeah, no.
No, all right. Well,
okay, so while we still have you,
yes.
I'm just trying to think what do we have?
What other drama
up?
Can you start? No, I'm just kidding. Who else do you hate, and who else hates you?
No. I mean, I thought that your whole explanation of the history was. I think that you absolutely...
I hope so.
You absolutely took the high road. You were you really summed it all up in a super eloquent and
thank you,
thoughtful. Yeah, it was fascinating. It's fascinating. And
I hope I'm coherent, because I woke up today super early to fly here.
Yeah.
From New York.
It was eloquent. It was endearing. It was on the high road. I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you.
And like we've got this Sphere event. I wondered too, because I saw an article, a video about the Sphere being in trouble business-wise. And I wonder if UFC is going to save the day for Sphere by bringing attention to it, by opening up the potential for more
I wonder.
Televised events.
I think they'll be okay. They're owned by MSG.
All right.
James Dolan, owner of the Knicks and Rangers and all that stuff. I think they'll be okay.
We'll see what happens.
Have you ever been in it?
I have not, and I can't wait.
Have you ever been in it?
Not.
I would like to. I would love to see. Like, I saw Grateful Dead, U2.
You did?
No. I just saw that they were playing there.
They were there.
I would love to experience it.
Go up to that first paragraph, because I think it explains everything. Right there. So I mean, I think it's in debt, $800 million, but it's only made about $400 million to date. So it's just
it'll be fine.
It's going to do more. It's only been in business for what, a year?
A year plus, yeah, so, if that.
Yeah.
I think the UFC is
I think it's great.
Be very good for its business. All right, man. Dude, this has been fantastic. I loved it.
Thank you so much. I know we were talking about this a little bit through your people. I'm so happy that it worked out. I'm so happy like the 8 other guests said no and fell through and you were able to call up to get you Old Faithful. You know, when in doubt, call up Helwani. Congratulations on all your success and thank you in advance for coming on my show tomorrow.
Dude, I can't wait.
It means a lot. It really does.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Thank you.
If I had something else, I would have.
You're the man.
A
little known fact about Steve-O, I reach out to all these people. They're like, okay, go through my manager. I say, who should we talk to about? He's like, you go through me. The biggest star of the whole bunch says, just text me. Says a lot.
Well, hey, dude.
Respect.
You're the man, dude.
Thank you.
All right. There you have it, folks. I think it's very, very fair to say that everything Ariel Helmani says rings true, and I respect and admire him. Simple as that. He's a good friend, and it's okay, man. We both love fighting, and man, it's fucking gonna be rad, dude. I can't wait. It's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. And yeah, what else, man? Thank you guys for sticking around to the end of the podcast. I'll see you on my Super Dummy tour. That's just getting better and better. And fuck, man, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I love you. Yeah, dude.